So, you're saying the reason you stayed was loyalty. You said that word more than once. Loyalty sounds honorable. It makes the situation feel noble instead of complicated. It makes staying feel like the right thing to do. And for a long time that explanation felt convincing. You remember the moments when someone asked you why you were still there. Maybe they noticed something you tried not to show. Maybe they saw the exhaustion before you were ready to admit it. And your answer came quickly, I'm loyal. You remember saying that, don't you? Because loyalty feels like strength. It sounds like commitment. It suggests that leaving would mean abandoning someone or giving up too easily. So, staying became the proof. Proof that you're dependable. Proof that you don't walk away when things get difficult. Proof that you keep your word even when the situation becomes uncomfortable. And I understand why that felt like the right story to tell. Because the other explanation didn't sound nearly as good. The other explanation didn't feel noble. You noticed things weren't changing. You saw the same conversations repeating. The same problems returning after every promise that things would be different this time. You remember those moments. The quiet realization that nothing actually moved forward. But each time that thought appeared, you answered it with the same word again, loyalty. You told yourself that leaving would mean you failed. That walking away would prove you didn't care enough. That staying longer might finally show the kind of commitment that eventually fixes everything. So, you stayed. Even when the situation stopped feeling like loyalty and started feeling like something heavier. Something harder to explain. You remember when that feeling first appeared, don't you? Because deep down, even then, a quieter question had already started forming. If this is loyalty, why does it feel so much like being trapped? Well, you kept calling it loyalty. You said that word almost automatically whenever the question appeared. Whenever someone asked why you were still there. Whenever the situation started looking harder to defend. Loyalty. You remember how that word ended the conversation. It sounded solid. Respectable. No one argues with loyalty. And it gave you a reason to stay without having to explain the rest. You remember the moments when things didn't feel right. The conversations that went in circles. The same problems returning after every promise that things would be different this time. You noticed that. You remember bringing it up once or twice. Carefully. Not as an accusation. Just a question. And the answer often sounded familiar. You're giving up too quickly. You're supposed to stand by people. Loyalty means you don't leave when things get difficult. Those words carry weight. They make leaving sound like betrayal. They make staying sound like strength. I understand why that landed the way it did. Because no one wants to be the person who walks away too soon. No one wants to feel like they abandoned someone when things became uncomfortable. So, each time the situation repeated itself, you gave it another chance. You remember those moments. The moment when you told yourself it just needed more time. The moment when you decided to stay one more month. One more conversation. One more attempt to fix what had already been discussed many times before. You saw the pattern repeating. But the word loyalty kept stepping in front of the question you didn't want to face yet. Because loyalty sounds honorable. Fear does not. And that difference matters. Loyalty makes staying feel like a choice you're proud of. Fear makes staying feel like something else entirely. So, every time the situation showed you the same outcome again, the explanation stayed the same. You're loyal. You don't leave. You stay and prove that commitment still means something. But look at what quietly kept happening while that story repeated. The situation didn't really move. The same tension returned. The same exhaustion appeared after the same conversations. The same promises faded the same way they always had. You saw that, didn't you? And yet the word loyalty continued doing its job. It kept the harder question out of the room. Because once that question appears clearly, the word loyalty starts losing its power. Look. This is where the word loyalty starts doing something very convenient. You said loyalty is the reason you stayed. That's the explanation you gave others. It's also the explanation you repeated to yourself whenever the situation started feeling heavier than it should. Because loyalty sounds like strength. It sounds like commitment. It sounds like the kind of quality people respect. You remember how easily that word ended the conversation. Someone would question why you were still there. They would notice the same problems repeating. They would see the exhaustion before you were ready to talk about it. And the answer came quickly, I'm loyal. You remember saying that, don't you? And look. Loyalty does matter. Loyalty means standing beside someone when things become difficult. Loyalty means not abandoning people the moment life becomes inconvenient. But something else started happening while you were holding on to that word. You noticed the situation itself wasn't moving. The same conversations returned. The same promises appeared again. The same problems came back after every attempt to solve them. You saw that. And each time that realization appeared, the word loyalty stepped in front of it. Because loyalty makes staying feel honorable. Fear does not. Fear makes the situation look different. Fear suggests something else entirely. Fear suggests that leaving is possible. And that possibility is exactly what you don't want to face yet. So, the word loyalty quietly protected you from that thought. It allowed you to stay without asking the harder question. Because if loyalty is the reason you're still there, then leaving would feel like betrayal. But if the real reason is fear, then the story changes. You remember the moment when that idea first crossed your mind, don't you? The quiet moment when the word loyalty didn't feel as solid as it used to. Because deep down you already knew something important. Loyalty stands beside something that is still alive. Fear stands beside something that should have been left behind a long time ago. Alright. Let's slow this down for a moment. You said something changed recently. Not in the situation itself. From the outside, things may still look almost exactly the same. The same place. The same people. The same conversations that have been repeating for a long time. But the way you see it now feels different. For a long time the word loyalty explained everything. It made the decision simple whenever things started feeling uncomfortable. Loyalty meant staying. Loyalty meant standing by someone when things became difficult. Loyalty meant proving that you don't disappear the moment the situation stops being easy. You remember how solid that word used to feel, don't you? When someone questioned why you were still there, the answer came quickly: I'm loyal. That word ended the conversation almost immediately. No one argues with loyalty. It sounds strong. It sounds admirable. It sounds like the kind of quality people respect. And because it sounds so honorable, it protected you from looking at something else that was slowly becoming obvious. You noticed the situation itself wasn't moving. The same conversations kept returning. The same promises appeared again. The same problems resurfaced even after long discussions about how things would change this time. You saw that. You remember those moments when the realization appeared quietly in your mind. The moment when you looked at the situation and thought, nothing here is actually different. But every time that thought appeared, the word loyalty stepped in front of it again. Because loyalty makes staying feel like strength. Fear does not. Fear makes the situation look completely different. Fear suggests that staying may not be about commitment at all. Fear suggests something far less comfortable. Fear suggests that leaving is possible. And once that possibility appears clearly, something changes in the way the entire situation looks. Because loyalty stands beside something that is still alive. Loyalty supports effort. Loyalty stands with someone who is still moving forward, even if the progress is slow. But what you're seeing now is something else. You're seeing a situation that stopped growing a long time ago. You're seeing conversations that repeat instead of move forward. You're seeing promises that sound familiar because you have heard them many times before. And once you allow yourself to see that clearly, the word loyalty stops carrying the same meaning. Because loyalty cannot create change on its own. Loyalty cannot move something forward when everything inside it has already stopped. And that realization leads you somewhere you avoided looking for a long time. The situation didn't trap you there. The word loyalty helped you stay. But now that word no longer hides the truth underneath it. And the truth you're starting to see is much simpler than the story you told yourself before. You weren't staying because you had to. You were staying because leaving felt more frightening than remaining exactly where you were. Well, now the situation looks different to you. Not because something suddenly changed overnight. The same place may still be in front of you. The same people. The same conversations that once made everything feel complicated. But you're saying that the explanation you used for a long time doesn't feel convincing anymore. Interesting. Because for a long time you said it was loyalty. Loyalty meant you stayed. Loyalty meant you endured the difficult parts. Loyalty meant you proved that you don't abandon something the moment it stops being comfortable. You remember how certain that sounded, don't you? But once you see the difference between loyalty and fear, the situation stops looking the same. Because loyalty stands beside something that is still alive. Loyalty stands beside effort. It stands beside movement. It stands beside someone who is still walking forward, even if the road is slow and difficult. But what you're looking at now doesn't feel like that anymore. You see how long the same problems stayed exactly where they were. You see how the same promises returned without ever changing the direction of anything. You notice that, don't you? And once you see it clearly, something inside you stops repeating the old explanation. Because loyalty is a choice you make when something still has a future. Fear is what keeps you standing in the same place long after that future disappeared. You remember the moment that difference became clear to you. The quiet moment when the word loyalty stopped feeling strong and started feeling like something you were using to protect yourself from another decision. And now that decision is no longer hidden behind the story you told yourself before. Now the situation is simply in front of you. You see where it stands. You see where it has been standing for a long time. And what happens next is no longer about loyalty. It's about whether you keep standing beside something that has already ended. Or whether you finally walk away from it. If you decide to.